So John, what does a winemaker actually do?
Well, the first thing that I do is to decide when to pick the grapes.
How do you actually make that decision yourself?
The way we determine that is about 3 weeks before the expected average harvest date. We start to get out in the vineyards, walk through the vines every 2 to 3 days, and taste the fruit.
And what does that actually tell you?
Well, it tells how the flavors are developing in the fruit. Are they going from green, herbaceous flavors to more ripe fruit flavors? And with the red grapes, how are the tannins developing in the skins? Are they very coarse, or are they becoming riper and finer and less astringent in the mouth?
Now, what determines which grapes you actually have planted in the vineyard itself?
Well, we started out with 30 different varieties planted here. We were the first vineyard and winery to grow vinifera grapes in the Hudson Valley. From those 30 different varieties, we've narrowed that field down to about 6 varieties that do well here, ripen up consistently in our growing season, produce an economic size crop. Another consideration we have here is we have some cold winter temperatures, so the varieties also have to be winter hardy enough to survive here.
Now, you had mentioned the word vinifera. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, vinifera is the genus of grapes that is grown in Europe for centuries.
So Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Merlot, versus the native grapes that were grown here, like Concord. So the vinifera grapes are the better wine grapes.
So now you have your grapes ripe out in the vineyards and you send your crew out to pick the grapes. And I'm assuming that's where the real art of making wine comes into play.
Yeah, after deciding when to pick, that's when the winemaking really starts. We have our grapes hand-picked here, which is really the best way to do it. And they're brought in small baskets that hold about 30 pounds, so there's no crushing or juicing. The more intact the fruit is when you bring it in, the better.
And this is where you start to make specific directions as to what style of wine you want to make?
Yeah, for our white wines, the best way to handle the grapes now is with whole cluster pressing. The skins are broken slowly and gently in the press. They're not run through a crusher first, which a lot of times cuts up the stems and
so you get more
releases
better taste in the wine?
Yeah, less phenolics in the wine, or less astringency in the juice as it comes out of the press. And that juice is then settled in a tank overnight. The heavy solids that may be from pulp in the grapes or bits of skins or seeds that make it through the press drop out in the tank overnight. And then the clear juice is decanted off that and ready to begin its fermentation. And
does that stay in stainless steel tanks, or do you transfer it to oak barrels for that?
Well, for one of our wines, our Tokai Friulano, which is a very fruity style wine.
Similar to Sauvignon Blanc or Pinot Grigio and stuff?
Yes, just like those. That's fermented in stainless steel to preserve all its freshness and all the fruit character from the grapes. We want to bring that through into the wine and preserve all that. So it's fermented and stored in stainless steel until bottling. With a variety like Chardonnay, that's we're trying to enhance the complexity of the wine more and bring out more of the depth of character of the grapes. Those are fermented in oak barrels.
Like the one we have here?
Yeah, they're 60-gallon oak barrels, either French or sometimes American oak is used, or both, a combination of both a lot of times. And the juice will go right into the barrels, start its fermentation, which may take about 3 weeks, and then it stays in the barrel for another 7 or 8 months after the fermentation completes, before it's racked out or decanted out of the barrels for bottling.
And now, what about your red wines? How does that differ in the white wine process?
The red wines, the grapes come in again in the 30-pound baskets and first go through a destemmer. which gently knocks the berries off the stem. And as that happens, some of the berries are broken slightly and juiced slightly, so the skins and juice are moved into a tank to ferment, and the stems are separated right away.
Discarded.
Yes. The skins and juice ferment with the reds, and that's where you extract your color, and the tannins is from the skins. All the color is in the skins. The juice itself starts out clear or white. So you need to have enough heat to extract all the color from the skins.
And then again, another decision, mental decision, whether to put them in oak barrels or leave it in a stainless steel tank.
Yeah, that happens shortly after fermentation ends. For a wine like Pinot Noir, we like to put the new wine in barrels right away. With other varieties like Cabernet Sauvignon or Cabernet Franc and Merlot, what I do is after the fermentation is complete, the new wine goes into another stainless steel tank for about 2 months. And there it clarifies a bit more, and then it's transferred into barrels at that point.
Where it stays for a certain period of time.
Yeah, the reds stay between 8 to 14 months in oak barrels.
And then your decision whether to send it to the bottling line, how do you come up with that decision?
Well, that again is a lot of tasting is required for that, involved in that. The wines are tasted from barrels periodically, maybe every 2 weeks or so, and by that tasting we follow the evolution of the wine, how it's developing and coming into balance in the barrels, and when we think that balance is achieved, that's the time when the wine is decanted out of the barrels into tanks and is ready for bottling. So
it's quite a labor of love, from planting the vines and nursing them through their vintages and actually getting the wine into the bottle through the fermentation process.
Yeah, it's really a lot like kind of raising a child. You know, you really have to keep a close eye on them when they're young, and
Do they get wild through their teenage years?
Yeah. You know, it's once they hit the school bus, it's kind of all over. So you have to watch the wines real closely when they're new and be very clean and handling the wines gently. It's very important.
If you had to give people advice that are just starting to get into the wine experience, that are really confused by the whole process, is there any piece of advice you can give them?
If the wine tastes good to you, it's a good wine.
Yeah, no matter what the price is, whether it's $2 or $100.
Yeah, and keep drinking, and if your tastes evolve and change, that's fine too. That's what makes it interesting.
So keep experimenting with different grapes and
see what you like, and
of course everything in moderation.
Yeah, definitely.